Hello and good morning, everybody. It's Michele Maher here, and today I'm joined with Nicole Colwell. Thank you so much, Nicole, for giving me your time to talk about these past few months, well, several months now that we've been dealing with the pandemic and what we've been going through, and keeping a positive mindset while pivoting in your business and in your life as well. So thank you, Nicole. If you want to give us a few words about who you are and what you are all about.
Thank you, Michele. Thank you so much for having me. I think this is such a great series. I love spreading the positivity. My name is Nicole Colwell, and I'm founder of Strategian. It is a business coaching practice. I focus on mindset and business. I work with ambitious entrepreneurs to break through blocks, to make your stress work for you while you're building a prosperous business. So I come from the corporate world, about 25 years in IT business development, and about 10 or so years in executive and business coaching.
All right, that's great. And you are located in Dallas, Texas, right? From what I understand. And you're a leader for Fem City, Dallas as well.
I am. I'm a global member, and I've been a leader for Dallas Collective for about 1.5 years now.
Oh, okay. All right. That's about the same for myself for the Etobicoke Collective here in Toronto. And I love Fem City. It's so such a supportive group of women, and it all starts from the top. Like anything, it all starts from the top and goes down. So as we were saying before we got on here, I started doing these interview series because I felt, at the beginning there was so much fear, so much change. Everything was changing on a daily basis. It was a daily basis, an hourly basis, I should say. And it was just, it was unseen. We've never been through anything like this. So you could really get yourself into that whole uncertainty and worry and spiral into the black hole of fear. And so it has really been, we've had some great conversations going through this. But the main thing at the beginning, it was understandable. Everybody kind of took that first couple weeks to just not have a clue what was happening. Right. That was kind of I started doing these interviews, but there was very much a roller coaster at the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's the fear of the unknown. I mean, this was just such a surprise for us. I know I kept telling my husband, I feel like every day I'm waking up in an alternate reality. This just I feel like I'm in a sci-fi movie or something. This does not seem like it could be happening.
Yeah, right, exactly. And we knew it was over there, and it was always like it was over there. And nobody thought it was going to come to North America in this manner, to the extent it has.
It's so interesting. I was actually in London the day that Wuhan went on lockdown. And I remember calling home and saying, hey, we need to be thinking about this. And I had, an interesting reaction for myself and for my husband. It's like, okay, that's, and I said, well, I know that when I just arrived in London, there were like 2 planes from China arriving at the same time. And I said, this could travel really fast. When I got back to the States, I was talking to a couple of my friends. We had met up, and I had told them about the experience. They're like, this will never come here. And they were like, oh, you're being alarmist. And one of my friends called me the day later and said, you're not a pessimist. You're a pretty positive person, but you're also pretty realistic. What are your thoughts on this? Like, let's talk about it, And I said, who knows, right? I mean, but if that can happen there, it can happen anywhere, I guess.
Yeah, and like you say, it can spread so fast with travel. With travel the way it is, that's exactly how it did travel.
It did.
Yeah. So but at the same time, we had to give ourselves grace to be able to go through these emotions and realize that it's okay to have this fear, but not to sit in it, not to stay in it, actually to process it and give ourselves grace to accept it and let it through us, I guess.
So well said. I know that I was talking to one of my clients about it, and it was really interesting because they said, I just feel so much loss. And I said, this really is a grief we're experiencing. It's almost a grieving period. And everybody processes grieving differently, right? When you lose something, there's different stages that we all know about: denial and anger and acceptance, but they're not linear. They kind of peak and valley. And I know for me, even though I tried to keep a very positive mindset about the whole situation, like it's a season, this too shall pass. But at the same time, you kind of still find yourself weaving in and out of those different emotions.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I found for myself, it was, I was glued to the news at the beginning because everything was changing so rapidly.
Yes.
And then about a month in, I decided that I was not going to look at any news or watch any news on the TV or tune into the, government updates we have here and things like that. Only get whatever I wanted to find. I could just look up on my phone for the updates of what's happening so that I stay informed, but not to, because you could just really could consume you, looking at the news, and it's all the negativity and the subconscious, at a subconscious level, it's not going to do you any good.
Most definitely. I did the same thing, Michelle. In the beginning, it was kind of like, okay, what's next? Because updates were happening not just daily, but like you said, hourly. Things were changing. It's like they would announce in the morning, okay, we're just going to close these things. And then next thing you know, there's a curfew or there's a lockdown or something. And so you kind of needed to know what was going on and if, how it was going to be, like what were the rules, right? But just like you, I did that for a little bit and then I said, okay, time out. I know how I am with research and looking into things. I will go down a rabbit hole and I'll find everything negative if I focus on it. And that's the whole mindset thing. If you're looking for that, you're going to find it. So I was like, let me focus on some positive things and some self-development, and let me take my focus off of this negativity and how many cases each day and all of that. And let me focus on something a little more positive.
Right. Yes. And that's exactly it. I think this is the first time I've actually unfollowed so many people on Facebook as well, because whether it be, people with all the negative news and the looking like a very negative outlook on the future, or the conspiracy theorist people who would be sending me private messages or posting on Facebook, and I just, yeah, exactly. I never unfollowed so many people. I also, at the same time, I did start a new group in Facebook for positivity, where I'm sharing the interviews, but also for where it's all positive quotes and positive articles and things like that I share in the group. So exactly, it's what you look for, you will find.
So true. And I love that you do that, because I think the more positive energy that we put out there, the more positive thoughts, and it kind of builds, it snowballs, it has that multiplier effect. And I know
it does, exactly, just the same way as fear does.
Exactly.
Just switch it around to the positivity, and then we all vibrate higher with positivity as well.
Absolutely. I used to tell my friend's son that when he would wake up, he'd stay over at my house sometimes, and he would wake up and kind of cranky. And I said, hey, you get to choose if you want to be in a good mood today or a bad mood today. It's the same amount of energy. It takes the same amount of effort. And one day he told me, you know what? Right. So cute to hear a little kid say that, but it is so true. And when you focus on that positive, I think too, I've had on my Instagram, I've done that. I've tried to put motivational, more positive things out there. And it's been so amazing, the feedback that I've gotten, because that also is the multiplier effect. Somebody tells me, hey, thanks, you just brightened up my day. Well, then I'm feeling better too. And it encourages me and makes me want to do a little bit more positive stuff and put more positive out there too. So it's a win-win.
Right. Yeah, totally. And that's exactly how you can see this whole pandemic that we're going through. You have the choice on how you see it, whether you decide to be a victim and just retreat and say there's nothing you can do about it, or you choose to accept the fact that there's certain aspects that there is nothing you can do about. But on the other hand, what can you do during this time? And what can you focus on to grow?
Right. Absolutely. I've had some of my clients who were just in a state of panic at first, and they're like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what to do. And they found themselves retreating and really just, they took shelter at home to an extreme. Because and that was not in their nature normally. Very social people who like to get out all the time, who would go to an office every day, but they found themselves very uncomfortable and very unsteady, not having that routine that they were so accustomed to, not being able to go places. They took it to one end of the spectrum, right? That they really just shut down. But then I've had so many people that I've known, clients and friends, who've actually done the opposite. They kind of took a moment to take it all in. These are my limitations, but these are the things that I can actually do. Let me see if I can make some lemons out of the lemonade, right? And so I've seen some incredible new businesses pop up, people pivoting positivity, right? And going into something different. I've done that with my own business, where I was working primarily with corporate clients. Companies, started to pull back and reallocate budgets, or to kind of put a hold on anything new. And while I work with entrepreneurs, like some venture capital backed entrepreneurs, I said, this is actually allowing me a new opportunity to work with some smaller business owners as I'm seeing these businesses pop up. How can I help them and support them? And that spirit of positivity, but also for my business, knowing that there can be another element to my business, right? Where I can help more people and grow personally as well.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing, after we kind of got through the first, I don't know, 2 months, not 2 months, sorry, 2 weeks to a month, whatever, all of a sudden you saw everybody getting online and offering their services for free. Some people that would normally charge thousands of dollars were just putting out information and content out there and putting on free webinars and things like that. So there really was a lot of content that you could be absorbing, a lot of personal development that you could be doing, to an overwhelming, at some point it was overwhelming. Yes. I mean, I found myself getting overwhelmed because I wanted to sign up for so many things, and there really is not enough time in the day for me to process it. You can't just watch it. You have to actually take some time to absorb and what you learned.
Did you feel a little bit of shiny object syndrome? Because I know,
yeah.
I was like, ooh, I want to learn about this. I want to learn about that. And I did the same thing. I started signing up for everything. I was like, oh, this person's cool. I want to hear what they have to say. And I was actually working with a coach at the time, and she said, stop. She said, stop. Find 1, 2, or 3 people that you really resonate with, and let's start with that. She said, preferably 1 or 2, and let's start there and take that on, because I was signing up for so many classes and my head was just spinning.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was doing as well. And at the same time, I was still doing these interviews, and it was like just craziness, because I thought we're supposed to be slowing down. And now I'm back to how I was going before, where I was rushing from place to place. Well, it's not the same. I wasn't moving physically around, but still being on Zoom all the time, rushing from webinar to webinar, and with no time left over. So, yeah.
It's almost more exhausting because the commute shortens. The traffic is in your house, in your head, and your devices, going back and forth between all of these things. And I think that's almost more exhausting than sitting in the car and driving to a meeting here.
Because you don't get that break, right?
Yes.
True.
I mean, I was, before this, I traveled globally pretty much every month, even in my own personal business. I would say every 6 to 8 weeks, I was on a flight going out of the country. So for me, the transition has been interesting because I either work virtual from home, and I've done that for most of my career, or on a plane somewhere. And the plane was my break time. I had a strict rule about no working on the plane unless it was like an absolute emergency. And I've had those, but I had a really strict rule because that was my timeout period. And I find now, and I also had to learn to cut myself because we are 24/7. I mean, we have this, so we have our email on it constantly and we're always checking stuff. And I had to put some rules in place to say, no, we need to cut that off. You are not 24/7, right?
Right.
So that's the other thing to the extreme that you mentioned. I saw myself busier, and I'm not a fan of that word because it almost implies that you're not being productive. But I was generating so much, and yet I broke my rules, my former corporate rules about giving myself some me time, and I had to stop that too. So it was going from that one extreme to another.
Yeah, and actually, when you bring that up, I'm thinking that is something that's not only for entrepreneurs is that happening, but also the people who work for corporations who have come home to work, because now they don't have that physical, going to the office and then leaving the office, and how do they stop working? They would be tempted to, again, keep working, as well as possibly the whoever is their boss and whoever the leaders are in these corporations, just because you are accessible with the phone and with the email and computer and whatever, you're accessible 24/7. So sometimes the expectation might have been there to that you could be reached at non-office hours or whatever.
All right, it's been very interesting. I've seen that a lot. Part of it is because they're worried about optics. They're not in the office showing their face, so people know that they're busy and doing things. And some of the companies, and I've been really surprised at some of the tech companies who have all of the structure to have more virtual presence. A lot of them have wanted their people back in the offices, not during the pandemic, but pre-pandemic. So they were a little uncomfortable, everybody going home to work. And I saw a rise in micromanagement from that. And so getting, a lot of my clients were telling me, yeah, my manager has no problem calling me at 9:00 at night, asking about something. I think there was also that fear factor. They're like, we've got to show that we're busy. We have to show that we're getting things done. We need to make sure that sales are secure, whatever the case may be. But a lot of it boiled down to optics. It was very interesting. I think it's a little bit.
Right. Yes. I'm sure it has. But that would be something new as well for people who never worked from home before, how to set boundaries and finish their day and start their day and whatever, and I've heard some information, some advice from different people in terms of, if you don't have, because some people don't have necessarily an office, and if you've got both spouses coming home to work, there's some people working at the dining room table, and then you've got the kids there and they're trying to navigate online schooling, whatever it ended up being. And
you have animals, you have cats and dogs that like to crash.
Everybody needs their space. And so how do you end your day and say that you're finished working and now it's family time? And some people said as little as, folding up your laptop or whatever and putting it into a basket or something, and putting a basket in the corner of the room to say, like, my office day is over, kind of thing.
Right.
It's, that, because you could really be tempted to just keep working and working and working, and you need that self-care. You need that time to recharge, especially with all of the emotions we're going through.
Oh, absolutely.
That we're dealing with.
I've advised some of my corporate clients when I've talked to their leadership groups about this very thing, because I had designed virtual work environments for companies back in the day when it was a new thing. And it's been interesting because I'm going back through some of my old notes about what I advise them on, how to set yourself up for success when working from home. But I've actually targeted the leaders, telling them, hey, you need to respect boundaries with people. In fact, I would almost mandate that for them. You're going to get a better response from them. They're going to feel less pressure, and they're going to become more productive.
Right.
Some of my clients that don't have that luxury of that, I've told them physically block on your calendar time so that nobody schedules a meeting at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, whatever the case may be, or you need a break for lunch. You need 15 minutes to go meditate. Block that actually out on your calendar, mark it as busy so nobody schedules, and be firm about it and say, sorry, I have a standing appointment every day at this time for this, because you need to work in those breaks. And another thing that we've done is 45-minute meetings. So there's a little bit of just a breather in between meetings. I know that it happened to me before in the corporate world. I went to a conference that somebody else had set up from another team, and we were going to like all-day training sessions. She did not plan any breaks at all except for lunch. And I said, even the lunch one was in the room, and I said, you're going to have people leaving during each session to take bio breaks. And I said, let's think realistically. We need to have those little breaks, obviously from a biological perspective, but also just for a mental break. And I highly advise that working from home.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You don't just sit at your desk and stay there all day, because you need that break. You need the time to recharge. And the other thing is too, when you're at home all the time, you need to get outside.
Oh, yes.
Because there was, I think a lot of people embrace nature a lot more earlier on when we were really locked down and having to stay at home. People were going out for walks and things like that, where they never had done that before. So, again, nature really recharges you too.
It's amazing. Yes. I highly recommend that as well. If you can get outside, and even if it's just for a few minutes, or go walk the dog or something. I know it's made me feel so much better because of the situation we had here in Dallas, where we were shelter at home for so long. It was, I'm used to working virtual and at home, so I don't have a problem with that, but I'm also used to traveling. So that's where
you get a break.
And when things finally did open up, I called my hair guy and I said, I need to see you. I need, because things had opened up, and I said, but I want to make sure it's just you and me there, no one else. And so he was great and set up a time for that, and, did the temperature check and all the things to make me feel good. But I only went there and came home, and my husband was laughing. He said, you're actually giddy today. He's like, I said, I didn't realize how bad I needed that, just to break the environment, to get out, to do something different, And I think that's one thing I would encourage a lot of people to do, assess the risk. But I'm not saying go out and get your hair done if you want to, great, but get outside, do something to break the monotony of being at home.
Yeah, right, exactly. And for some people, it's difficult when even if you were an entrepreneur working from home prior to this, and all of a sudden everybody came home, like your spouse and your children, and everyone's there. And then I know earlier on at the beginning, I didn't know what day of the week it was. It really didn't matter, because before you could tell based on who, if you have kids and they were home, it was the weekend.
Right. Or your events, or you had things to go do. You had your, weekend events, you had your weekday routine, and we just lost all of that. So it's definitely an adjustment. I think this many months though, it's interesting. And I'm not a big fan of that phrase, the new norm, but I think people have adjusted quite a bit. They're like, okay, this is just how it's going to be. We don't know how long it's going to be like this. We're going to try to I've seen so many people say, we're just going to try to make the best with it. Right. I know there's still some people who are, struggling with this. Either they've been affected specifically by COVID-19, and I'm talking about the illness, right? The disease.
Right.
Even if not, obviously this has an impact on everyone.
Yes. Yes.
Just trying to figure out what to do going forward, because we don't know when things are going to open up again. They will. We just don't know when.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think that a lot of people have taken this time to explore new ways of doing business. And I know some people who have had to close their brick and mortar locations. Well, they've made the decision to close because
Right.
um, it just being closed for that many months, and they've taken this time to develop an online store or things like that, and they're looking forward to having having your online store, and then maybe doing a pop-up, renting a location where you can bring the stuff in for one day a week, or special events or things like that, when people want to actually see things. If you have products and they want to see them in person, but just kind of rethinking the way of doing things. And also a lot of collaborations are happening
Yes.
where people are coming together to do a virtual event of some sort, where you're bringing in different, maybe it's people with different products, but they come
Right.
together with complementary products, and then come together in some kind of virtual, maybe fashion show or something like that. But there's so many opportunities for new, for getting creative and thinking of new ways of doing things.
Well, it's interesting. I was listening to someone the other day say that um, the revolutionary times and major changes and big companies have spurred out of situations like this, out of pandemics, out of recessions. And I love the creativity that I'm seeing. I love the new partnerships that people are kind of taking that. I love Marie Forleo's quote, everything is figure outable. So getting creative. And it also reminds me of another quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer that says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Right.
And so if we can look at this a little differently and say, okay, it's giving me an opportunity to rethink my business and get creative and find new ways to expand my business, it's bringing out partnerships you probably never would have even thought of before, which is exciting.
Right.
Or connecting you to new people. I know a lot of people are spending more time online. I, like you, had unfollowed some different things because I was getting a bit of overwhelmed, but it also made me pivot, and I started looking at other groups that I could join of like-minded people, start making connections there too. So through this also, I even got more involved in Fem City, which was exciting. Going to our weekly networking meetings and meeting some amazing women who have also inspired me to say, what else could I do? How could I bring extra value to my clients, to friends? And how can I, grow and expand as well?
Right, exactly. And now it's really opened up the whole global community.
Yes.
You're connecting with, there's a lot of networking happening that's on a global basis, and the networking events and conferences that you may not have attended because physically you weren't going to travel to them, and now it's just so easy to attend anything from all over the globe. So it's definitely been quite the opportunity as well. It's really the personal branding, the whole personal branding side of things is really, really key nowadays too. And your social media presence and everything like that, because we are only online. And also, I think the whole view of competition, there's no competition, even if you are in the same industry with people. The fact is that everybody's different. Everybody's their own person, and you're going to get clients that are gravitating towards you just based on, your personality, style, image, the way of doing business, things like that. And so that's why I think a lot of people are coming together, even collaborating in the same, people of the same industry collaborating together.
Definitely.
And we're all gonna, help each other out. We'll all rise together.
I think that's one of the beautiful things that is coming out of this situation, is that it is bringing people together. We've seen a lot of division, of course, but I've seen so much collaboration, coming together, really rooting for each other, and that's exciting, right? I love your point about competition. I mean, I get excited when I see other people, other coaches like doing well, and I'm like, that inspires me just to do a bit more. And I'm not a Pollyanna. Look, I know that this is not the ideal situation, but where can we make it ideal? Where can we make it something that moves us forward and helps us to grow and help us to maybe make a different impact on the world? I think we're all also rethinking our businesses too, and getting a little bit more, succinct about what we want to do and how we can make a contribution.
Yeah, right. And in terms of the divisiveness that we've seen, there's been a lot of judgment as well, which I know I've seen during this time. And I think that it's just bringing this period has brought forth a lot of issues, whether it be issues that you have at home, some issues are magnified at home, and other issues in the community, and just rethinking everything, whether, from the school system, the healthcare system,
Right.
the corporate system, just everything is kind of having the chance to be reinvented. That's it, the word.
Reinvented, absolutely.
Really, it's like you can make a fresh start, because if you think about the fact that everything got shut down so quickly, and all of a sudden people, everybody was working from home and everything like that, just imagine that what you could create, what you can create to change the world.
Definitely. And I think too, one of the best lessons I've learned, look, we've had other downtimes. Of course, this one is completely different, right? We've never seen the entire world shut down, but we've had recessions. We had, a lull after 9/11. We had the 2008, 2009 financial crisis. So we have seen downturns in the market, and business is cyclical, right?
Yeah.
Ups and downs, we have seasons. And as entrepreneurs, I think, it affects us a little differently than maybe being in the corporate shield, even though people in corporate are being impacted too. I mean, I've seen some people, some companies going through major layoffs, but I've seen some that have 10x their business. So you have both extremes. But I think, one of the lessons that I learned in a downturn market is it's a good time to really rethink your business, to make sure that you're not running an expensive hobby. It's one of the piece of advice that I received one time. So taking a really good hardcore look at your business. And then also, it's a good time to reach out to your clients, not to sell them something, but it's a good time to just reach out and make those connections. How are you doing? What's going on with you? Tell me a little bit about your business and your family. Is everybody okay? Because when it is time to buy, when things start to rebound, first of all, people buy from people they know, that they like, and that they trust, right? So a downturn market is a great time to help also with that, really build strong relationships with your clients. And, I know that I had somebody that I purchased from years ago that had their own business, and we've stayed friends this whole time, and even though she's doing something completely different, your business may change, but those relationships stay there. So I think it's a really good, the slow period or the slow season is a good time to ground yourself, kind of reset, and take a good look at your business, make sure you're still on track for, your purpose of the business, and then also make some really strong connections.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And on the, not only the business side, but also just on the life side of things, personal side of things, and look at how you were living your life before, and were you happy with that? And now that once these external distractions were taken away from you when you had to stay home, what, figure out what really makes you happy, what your values are, what you stand for, and going forward, who you want to be, because, again, it's the chance to create something new
That's so good, Michele. I mean, I think that's how we should try to position this and look at it with positivity. It's really an opportunity, a chance for us to kind of look at things differently, and to focus on what's important to us, and to make sure that we're continually giving that what's important with attention. Because I think we all got caught up in life's hustle and bustle.
Yes.
That is nice.
Right. And this is really giving you the chance to really realize what is important, because some things have been taken away from you that, and you realize that you didn't necessarily need them. And I think that's happened for a lot of people as well.
And it's made us appreciate those things we have too, so much more, for sure.
Oh, for sure, as well. And I think that I'm just very grateful for this technology that we do have, because just imagine if we didn't have this when we were totally shut down. Even for the people not even related to your business, but just being able to connect with family when you couldn't see them. Even grandparents got onto Zoom and FaceTime and everything like that. Where
so true.
So it's I think that we need to, technology, well, we never thought it was going anywhere, but of course it's really accelerated. Some things have been accelerated, and people having to really step up in terms of their knowledge of technology and use of technology, where some people were not necessarily interested in it. They've had to, or you really had no choice. So I think going forward, we're really going to see some more use of technology, even from the corporate side of things, where they, in terms of replacing in-person meetings, perhaps. As well.
Oh, definitely. And even me coming from an IT and technology background, I mean, I'm not technical, but I'm using it all the time in my corporate world, right? I'm doing so many new things. I'm like, can you show me how to do this TikTok thing? I don't know that I want to do it, but I just want to understand it.
Right. Yeah. That's a whole nother world.
That's a whole nother one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I have a daughter who's on there all the time. So so I think that we're gonna see, like, again, it's really valuing your time a lot more as well, and so just there's a lot of innovation that will come out of it, I'm sure.
Definitely. Good time.
All right, well, yeah, so thank you. I think you were also going to say you had you have something on your website as well.
Oh yeah, so exactly on this topic, I have a guide available, free guide, what to do when business is slow. And it can apply to life as well, but I think that some of us, when things slow down, we're kind of like at a loss. What do we do next? And instead of just staying really busy, these are some actions that can actually set you on a course to put some foundational stuff in place and to make you feel a little bit better and feel like you've accomplished something when this time is slow, getting prepared for when things are going to get busier, and they will be. So it's a good time right now to do that. So you can visit my website at strategien.com, and I will give that to you so you can post it, and so that you have access to that free guide, and I hope it helps.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, going back to what you were saying, it's all cyclical, and we will get out of this. We will go back to, we will, we'll get out of it into some kind of whatever it's going to be. I don't think we're going to be going back to how we were operating, and I think some of the changes might be, going forward might be more permanent basis, but I think that we're going to, come out of this, and it's going to be, everybody's going to be better. It's going to be a better world when we come out of.
I absolutely believe that. It really is. Change is uncomfortable, but it is necessary for growth. And I think this is just opening up a realm of possibilities for us. We just have to look at it a little differently.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I will put your information underneath the interview when I put it up as well. And stay safe and healthy, and take care.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this, and you too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.